Time now for the morning rush. The fate of Fabian Gonzalez will rest in the hands of the jury now as deliberation is set to begin this morning. Gonzalez is accused of putting 10-year-old Victoria Martins in a situation that led to her murder. He's also accused of helping his cousin, Jessica Kelly, dismember the girl's body to clean up the crime scene. The defense insisted Jessica Kelly acted alone. The prosecution claimed Michelle Martins, Fabian Gonzalez, and Kelly all knew about the murder and tried to cover it up. Happening today, a trial for the woman accused of recording a teenager being sexually abused and sharing it online is set to begin. Yarelis Cespedas, now 22 years old, was arrested back in 2019. She was charged with manufacturing and distributing child pornography, among other charges. If convicted, she faces up to 47 years in prison. More news happening today. The funeral for another first responder killed in a helicopter crash will be held. The ceremony honoring Bernalillo County Fire Lieutenant Matthew King said to begin at 11:30 this morning. It will be at Tingley Coliseum. Erica.
And here's a look at our hourly forecast this morning. Temperatures are right around 70 degrees. We'll stay in the low to mid 70s and humid this morning, and clouds will start to clear by the mid-morning hours.
The People's Housing Project plans on speaking at this evening's City Council meeting to demand rent control. They're going to ask Mayor Tim Keller to use his executive powers to declare a public health emergency because they believe the lack of affordable housing is an emergency. On top of that, they'll also be demanding an immediate rent freeze. City Council will also be considering a bill to crack down on camping in arroyos. Arroyos are considered private property since they are owned and operated by the Flood Control Authority, which means APD does not have jurisdiction to remove someone from that area. The new proposed ordinance would change that. Friends and families of slain loved ones are hoping to continue to raise awareness about gun violence. The inaugural Drop Your Weapons for Lawrence honored Lawrence Anzures, who was shot and killed at the Uptown last year. Organizers say they aren't telling people to surrender their guns, but they want people to find common ground to prevent incidents from escalating to violence. Erica.
And here's a look at our threat index. It's moderate today. We'll see heavy storms possible with some burn scar and flash flooding threats, especially around the mountains.
Weeds line Tower Road near 98th Street in southwest Albuquerque, and neighbors are sick of it. Residents say weeds covering parts of the sidewalk is what they look at on a regular basis. We reached out to the city to see why the sidewalks and medians are being neglected. We did not get a response before airtime. California Governor Gavin Newsom is declaring a state of emergency as wildfires ravage the Klamath National Forest. At last check, the McKinney fire has grown to more than 51,000 acres in size. At last check, it was 0% contained. A watchdog report points to big problems over federal student loans with big losses ahead. A government accountability report states that the U.S. Education Department will likely lose $197 billion on loans made over the past 25 years because of policy changes and underestimating in hoped revenue. Erica.
All right, let's get a look at traffic maps. There is a slowdown on I-25 near exit 230. And here's a look over the Big I. Things are starting to slow down going towards the Big I on I-40.
And finally, for your morning rush, there's a new solution this morning for pets going through a heat wave in Japan. It's battery operated and helps circulate cool air around the animal's body. The outfits come in 5 different sizes. They're priced at around $74 US. No word as to when or if they'll be sold here in the U.S. Time for the 5 facts.
At number 5, from now through January 15th, you can visit a new exhibit at the Albuquerque Museum aiming to highlight Native American culture. Between Two Worlds, the photography of Lee Marmon officially opened this weekend. His work looks to challenge commonly held views about indigenous people. Marmon, a member of the Laguna Pueblo, is considered one of the first professional Native American photographers.
Number 4, the community will gather today to say their final goodbyes to another first responder who was killed in the recent helicopter crash. The ceremony honoring Bernalillo County Fire Lieutenant Matthew King will begin at 11:30 this morning at Tingley Coliseum. Lieutenant King was on board BCSO Metro 2 when it crashed near Las Vegas earlier this month. The crew is assisting the efforts to contain the East Mesa fire.
And at number 3, we will see daily storms throughout this week. Most of those storms today are going to be around and near the mountains of New Mexico. We could see some isolated storms in the metro.
Number 2, the People's Housing Project plans on speaking at this evening's City Council meeting to demand rent control. Members of the grassroots organization have been going door to door speaking with people about their housing situation. They say most of the people they speak with are stressed out about housing insecurity. At tonight's City Council meeting, they're going to be asking Mayor Keller to use his executive powers to declare a public health emergency. They'll also be demanding an immediate rent freeze. Finally, number one for you, the fate of Fabian Gonzalez rests in the hands of the jury this morning as deliberation begins. Gonzalez is accused of putting 10-year-old Victoria Martins in a situation that led to her murder. He's also accused of helping his cousin Jessica Kelly dismember the girl's body and clean up the scene. During closing arguments on Friday, the defense insisted that Jessica Kelly acted alone, saying Gonzalez did not play any role in dismembering the body or cleaning up the scene. Prosecution paints a completely different picture.